Coming up, how professionals say medications can be affected by extreme heat. And how one dog in the UK survived a house fire that took out several homes, making cleanup a little more tolerable for his family.
Plus, temperatures remain quite hot as we head into the weekend, and humidity in the air will make it feel even hotter than that. The latest breakdown is on the way next. As First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
We continue to bring you stories on heat safety, from hot cars to staying cool while working outside. As the real field temperatures are close to 100 degrees today, we wanted to know how heat can affect medications that are delivered to your home or left in cars. WYMT's Dakota Makers talked with a pharmacist about what you should know.
Hometown Pharmacy of Hazard pharmacist Tyler Wells says many medications are sensitive to temperature changes regardless if it is hot or cold outside. Forecasters predict temperatures in the mid-90s this weekend.
One big thing to look at if you're getting your medication delivered, look to see any kind of color changes that are not typical from what you're used to in your medication.
With certain drugs, you need to worry about your own safety as they break down when they get hot.
Those chemicals that they break down into may be toxic, and then also on the flip of that, the medication may not work as well as you think it should.
Your doctor prescribes you a certain dosage of medication. Pharmacists say heat can actually lessen the dosage amount as the medication breaks down, meaning your treated condition may not be as controlled as it should be. In Hazard, Dakota Makers, WYMT Mountain News.
Pharmacists say it is okay to leave medicines in your car briefly as you run errands. They say not to leave them in glove boxes or trunks, as those typically are the hottest spots inside of vehicles. Splash parks might not just be for kids anymore, especially these days. As heat waves spread across the U.S. and the world, Europeans and Americans alike are looking for ways to get out of the heat. Europe is seeing record temperatures, and because many homes do not have air conditioning, many are turning to local ice bars to dry their sweat. An annual water fight in Spain served as a perfect way for locals there to cool off as a brutal heat wave moves through that country.
Not all over the world, not in the U.S., but in Europe also.
Some people are also relying on just plain old cold showers and plenty of hydration to make it through the sweltering summer. Scorching heat and suffocating humidity are expected to last in many areas through the end of the month across the United States. Millions of people coast to coast could endure triple-digit temperatures with dangerous heat warnings extended. Forecasters warn around 85% of the U.S. population could see temperatures breaking through 90 degrees. In sun-scorched Arizona, Maricopa County officials say at least 29 people have died from heat-related issues since March.
Well, it remains toasty around the mountains this afternoon, and plenty more where this came from as we head into the next couple of days. Outside at the moment from our camera at UVA Wise, well, there we go. That happens all the time, right? It's just refreshing the image there. But once the blue sky returns, there it is. We're in the low 80s right now. You think, well, that's not very hot, but Southwest Virginia usually runs a little bit cooler. That thermometer's at Lonesome Pine Airport, and they're usually a little bit cooler than everybody else. So they're getting up into the 80s, means the rest of us are close to 90 with blue skies out there. Mountain Parkway, not a cloud in the sky right now. And that's helping boost those temperatures into the upper 80s and low 90s out there for the most of us. Wise, of course, a little cooler at 82, but either way, toasty temps continue, feeling like the low to mid 90s out there. And Ashland feels like 100 degrees. Pinpoint Dopplers all quiet around the mountains. You got to go up into parts of West Virginia before you run into any kind of shower and thunderstorm activity, though anything that has popped is a little on the hefty side out there in Parkersburg. For us, though, quiet tonight. If you're headed out maybe to the North Fork Music Festival here in Hazard, festivities kick off here in about 25 minutes or so. Grab the sunscreen. You're going to need it because we're still going to be in the 80s and very muggy as we head through tonight, calming down into the 70s before we finish off, or at least wake up near 70 in the morning. Now, the latest on whether or not a couple of cooling showers could work in too, that's coming up in just a minute. Steve?
Evan, thank you. Well, this weekend, many of us will likely head to oceans, lakes, and rivers in search of some relief from the heat. Marine life sightings can be one of those unexpected thrills of those trips, but what happens if we encounter a sick or injured animal? NOAA works with more than 100 organizations across the country to respond to those calls for help. CBS's Michael George recently saw firsthand how that process works and even watched the release of some healthy seals.
During a recent trip to a wildlife rehab center on New York's Long Island, we met Willow, a 7-month-old gray seal pup.
She's adorable. I see her looking right at us, and she's got these puppy dog eyes.
Yeah, seals are really like dogs. We call these guys kind of like the German Shepherd. They have that longer snout.
But Willow hasn't had an easy life. In May, she was struck by a boat, leaving her with a fractured shoulder and deep cuts on her back.
We don't want anything to happen to these guys.
Maxine Montello and her team at the New York Marine Rescue Center have spent weeks rehabilitating Willow, along with Cedar, a male seal who was found with a badly infected flipper.
These guys can be a handful.
Very much so. Yes.
Volunteers Lenore McGinn and Lorraine Michagno are helping nurse Willow and Cedar back to health.
Cedar is a chunky monkey. He's cute. He comes up, he looks at you, he wants more food constantly. Willow's kind of quiet. The seals all definitely have their own personalities.
Unfortunately, more animals are ending up at the rescue center, and too often we're to blame. Boats, abandoned fishing gear, and pollution are leading to injuries for seals and sea turtles. One of the biggest threats, the garbage we leave when we go to the beach.
We see the entanglements, you know, with the plastic bags and the plastic in the waters.
They wind up in the ocean, and then the animals unfortunately suffer because they eat them thinking they're food.
Another growing problem, harassment.
People want to get close. They want to get that selfie. They want to touch that animal. If you do see them, enjoy from afar.
And even well-intentioned people who think they're helping can make things worse. After Willow was injured, a Good Samaritan picked her up and put her in his truck to drive her to a vet.
He wasn't trying to hurt this animal, but picking these animals up is illegal. They're federally protected under the Marine Mammal Protection Act.
It's easy to forget Willow and Cedar are still wild animals. If you're at the beach and you see a beached or injured animal, marine wildlife experts suggest calling the nearest rescue center.
I will let you know when I'm like 10 minutes away.
As we were shooting our interview, a bystander did just that, calling to report a badly injured sea turtle.
Feel a little better.
Thanks to that call, the team was able to save it.
This is a Kemp's Ridley sea turtle, so they're one of the most critically endangered sea turtles, so we really appreciate you guys calling.
Willow and Cedar are healing nicely, and they've both put on 30 pounds. Now, Maxine says, it's time for them to go home.
You ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
The pair had their final checkup. They got weighed,
38.2.
swabbed to check for diseases, and had their blood drawn.
Going in.
After starting the summer in a rehab facility, it was time to return to the wild. Cedar went first and seemed all too grateful to be back in the water. But Willow was nervous. For a moment, it seemed like she wouldn't go. But eventually...
That moment when they went back into the water, is that what this is all about for you?
Yeah, this is the best part of the job. All our hard work paid off. It's our goal to put them back into the wild to return them home.
Michael George, CBS News, New York.
The Marine Mammal Protection Act recommends we stay at least 150 feet away, and we have to resist the urge to get that great photo and keep our distance. In other animal news, wagging his tail and taking it in his stride, Dickie the Staffordshire Bull Terrier is lucky to be alive. When these homes in Maltby, England were destroyed by fire in Tuesday's heat wave, the South Yorkshire Fire Service told Dickie's owner it was too dangerous to try and rescue his pet. But hours later, the 2-year-old was found alive. June Cockayne, the sister of Dickie's owner, says the family had given up hope of seeing the dog alive again.
It's a miracle really, because we all thought he was dead. He was under the bed and the firemen found him after they put the fire out. He's a lovely dog. He's usually really boisterous, but he's a bit traumatised still at the moment. I'm delighted they're both okay. It could have been worse. Fortunately my brother was out, but unfortunately the dog was in. But yeah, he's fine.
Well, there's a lot of cleaning up to do now, but at least it's in the company of this 4-footed friend. Coming up on First at 4, some companies in the U.S. are exploring a 4-day work week.
Plus, summer is in full swing as temperatures remain toasty this weekend. The very latest next.